Welcome to Badaboom. I'm Troy. On this episode, Chris and I review Ultimate Spider-Man number 2. After taking the comic book world by storm with issue 1, Jonathan Hickman and Marco Chechetto continue the story of this Peter Parker embracing the life that was stolen from him. We get into spoilers, our thoughts, and what's to come in the Ultimate Universe. Listen in and Badaboom.
All right, we're back to review another issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. And now we have Ultimate Spider-Man 2 by Jonathan Hickman and Marco Chechetto. The first issue was amazing. It brought comics back for 2024. It revitalized the Ultimate line. The book sold out. Ultimate Black Panther sold out. And here we are on issue 2. What did you think, Troy?
It's a good episode, or it's a good issue. I really liked how Peter's trying to find out how to use his powers, and obviously we're going to say spoiler alert now, but you should already know that before you click this video. Peter's trying to know how to use his powers, and it's really interesting because it doesn't seem to me like he's got spidey sense. There's a couple times where he's trying to figure out how to stick his landing. He gets kind of caught by a surprise, and it's like, shouldn't your spidey sense like warn you about this or like tip you off a little bit? So maybe not all of his powers have come back, or he's still discovering some of them. Maybe something else has to trigger the spidey sense, or maybe he doesn't know how to listen to it yet. But it was interesting seeing how he was trying to handle the new powers and also like taking down his first villain, or is he
Actually
villain?
getting defeated by his first villain.
I was like, is he a villain yet? He's just a bank robber, the Shocker at the moment. He's not like at villain status yet.
Well, that's, Shocker, he's street level, robbing banks and stuff like that. Usually when he's a part of bigger teams like the Sinister Six, he gets picked off pretty quickly. So I think he's right where he's at.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't take that long to chase Shocker to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we got some subplot kind of going with Wilson Fisk. We have this mysterious kind of like Iron Man, Green Goblin kind of figure that is just kind of lurking in the shadows. But yeah, the issue is mostly like, how do you use your powers? How's this work for you? How are you dealing with it? It was a bit shorter than what I was expecting. I was like, there's going to be more stuff that's going to happen, but hey, it's still a good issue. What did you think though? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it still hasn't picked up. That first issue definitely put a lot of setup, and this gets into it a little bit more. He's in the suit, Peter's in the suit, and I think some of the high points of this issue is more sort of the emotional aspect of it. He's still sort of like, hey, I lost all these years. I was supposed to be this version of Peter 20 years ago, but I lost that. Like, how do I live that life? And there was some really cool moments, like like him learning to use his powers. You're like, oh, that's very Peter-like. And then also when he runs into Shocker, you could kind of see that banter, and Shocker's like, hey, have you done this before? Because you're actually pretty good at this. And he's like, oh, no. But, so it kind of shows you that, like, hey, this is the life he was supposed to lead. And it's cool that, he kind of is naive and sort of falls for Shocker's tricks twice during the issue. So that's really cool. But, towards the end, you get some teases as to what Fisk is up to and, what he's working on. He owns the Daily Bugle, which J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker have left and sort of started their own venture. Peter's already selling, photos of Spider-Man, as we see in the issue. So I think it's more of kind of setting up the world. And at the end, you get that tease of that, Green Goblin who is Harry, But what I found sort of a little disappointing was like, I was like, hey, like, why is Green Goblin on the cover of this?
Yeah.
I was like, Shocker should be on the cover. So, and also at the end of the last issue, it kind of teases sort of the assassination attempts on Fisk, Kingpin by this Green Goblin. So I thought it was going to be more of that, but it kind of makes sense. Like, hey, like, do we really want to see Peter at this state sort of taking on, what is his sworn enemy, the Green Goblin? So we'll see next issue. But the thing about next issue, it's the cover has Peter fighting Kingpin, and I'm like, Is that gonna be like this issue where that doesn't happen at all? And
Yeah,
this issue even had variant covers with, with Harry and stuff like that. So I thought it was gonna be like that. But again, those emotional moments, we've already touched on some spoilers, but him, his daughter catching him and knowing that he's Spider-Man, and sort of you see that, oh, that's where he gets the idea for the colored suit and stuff like that. Those are all like really good moments, and I think that's why people loved issue one, and it's why I loved issue one. So it's great to see the emotional core is still there, but I definitely, coming off the high of issue one, I was like, okay, like this is going to be a big bombastic issue. So I think sometimes I'm in talking about it, I'm like, wait, like it still was a good issue. It wasn't what I wanted, but is that fair to this particular comic to be like, hey, it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but hey, it still was good.
I think the most important thing about this issue, and you kind of mentioned it, is it kind of plant a seed when Peter is talking about, can I be the Spider-Man that I should be when I'm like on a 20-year curve, when I'm behind on that curve? And I think just that one sentence alone, or that one aspect of this issue, is planting a seed of doubt for Peter. And maybe later on he'll have to decide, is this who I'm supposed to be as Spider-Man? Am I supposed to be helping Green Goblin like uproot evil in this way, or am I supposed to protect Fisk because that's what you're supposed to do when someone's trying to kill him? And so I think that's like a good little seed of doubt for the audience to kind of maybe pick up on of what could happen. And all these other things are just him trying to figure out, well, what do I do? How do I establish just the basic stuff of being Spider-Man? And then when the bigger questions come in, he's like, I have all this doubt, maybe. So we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. And there's some, bigger things teased. At the end, you see Fisk talking to some, evil people, and you're kind of like, okay, like that's sort of seeding the bigger ultimate universe, and maybe this universe's version of Kang that gave Peter his powers comes back at some point, or maybe we see like a big ultimate crossover event. But it seems like Ultimate Spider-Man itself as a book is like very like personal and contained, as much as it's a big book because we're all reading it. It's definitely something that's a little bit more intimate. But I think that's what people have been wanting from Spider-Man. I think they've seen the big stuff. So for me, it's a great book. I enjoy some of those really like personal moments that Peter's having with himself. And it was cool to see that interaction with his daughter, because you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like as his supporting cast grows and maybe they learn his identity, or maybe he does what Peter does when he has a secret identity. He's, talking like, "Hey, I have a friend that's doing this," and stuff like that. We'll see sort of like that grow, and sort of it be able to stand on its own. Because what I'm like, long term, like let's enjoy this for what it is. It's like, okay, like once you get over the mystique of like, hey, you're living this life that you should have lived, and how do you make up for lost time? Like, what's there? Like, how does Peter move past that?
Yeah. How does Peter say, this life is officially my life? I'm no longer trying to make up for something. I'm creating something brand new. And that's going to be a big turning point for him as a character, and for everyone else in this universe as well.
For you, what do you think is going to happen in issue three? I've already said it. You've seen the cover, but based on this issue, I'm like, that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
But knock on wood, we get that big bombastic battle that I think we've all been waiting for.
I think, based on what you said and what is in the issue, I think there's going to be a break in at Fisk Tower for uh, Ben and Jay Jonah, and they're going to need to get out, and they're going to call Peter to help him, and he's going to show up kind of like as Spider-Man, but also maybe there's some crossfire between our Green Goblin character, and people got to get out. Maybe people die, but I think there'll definitely be a confrontation. But I think it's going to involve all those characters. I think it's a little bit too soon to get the great power, great responsibility speech. We're only like on issue 3 at that point, so We'll see. But I think it's going to involve all those characters within the same room.
Even with that line that sort of exists in the first sort of issue, I think like sort of like the great power, great responsibility was him sort of taking on this role and stuff like that. And I think them killing Aunt May is kind of like, okay, like, I don't think they'll kill Uncle Ben, because it's like, all right, we've already done that and stuff. Who knows? But I think that's off the table for this universe at least. But I completely agree. I think that's a good story for issue 3, and hopefully sort of like picks up the pace a little. Like I said, we've got a lot of that emotional stuff, but we really want to see Spidey be Spider-Man. So far he's just gotten beat up by the Shocker twice. So it'll be fun to see him get beat up by Kingpin or Green Goblin. I'm really excited for that. But what do you guys think? Did you like issue 2? Are you reading Ultimate Spider-Man? Are you reading Ultimate Black Panther? That's another great book. Let us know. And with that, bada boom.
Bada boom.
Thank you for listening to the Badaboom podcast. Keep the conversation going on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Get in the comments on our YouTube channel and let us know what you'd like to hear next. And please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen.